a great leader is one that is holistic in their well-being, and also looking at where are they weak and how can they address that. There's so many leaders that forego the physical well-being, especially sleep. Sleep is the cornerstone, the most important thing of your physical well-being.
There's a phrase that I do an exercise around called at your best. Here is how I feel, think, operate. Here are my daily habits.
I think unconventional leadership is getting comfortable with not seeking permission to pursue any ideas that you're trying to actualize. I think too often people are waiting for somebody else to tell them that they should go for it.
Welcome to the Unconventional Leadership Podcast, where we help you unlock your potential as a leader. Hey, can I ask you a favor? Can you please hit subscribe or follow on any platform that you're listening or watching this episode? Our goal is to connect with you, to bring additional value to you, to bring additional topics to you, and we can do that more effectively if you hit subscribe or follow. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining this week's episode of the Unconventional Leadership Podcast. I have the distinct pleasure today to be with two amazing guests that I'm very grateful for, Jessica Morris and JONBOB Willis.
Hey man,
Hi.
Glad to be here.
Thank you both for joining me. So we're going to go on an extremely impactful journey for our listeners today, and I'm really glad that you all are here. I'm also grateful that we've had lots of inputs over the last several years around self-care, well-being, resilience, high-impact teams, and what really makes a team high impact. Because if you burn them all out, you didn't do a good job of creating high impact, right? There's also a lot of organizations who have significant retention problems, and so much of retention is driven by stress, not being able to read the room and figure out the pressure cooker that your people are under, as well as that we put ourselves under in an entrepreneurship journey.
Sure.
So I'm very excited to walk down this path. One of the things that I want to start with is when we think about healthy leadership, healthy leaders, whether it's yourself reflecting on where was I in my most healthy state? What did that mean? Where was I in an unhealthy state? And what did I have to realize and pull out of? What have you both experienced when you think about health and well-being as you from a leader perspective?
Well, I guess I'll take this one.
Yeah, kick that one off.
Because that is so much to unpack in that statement, because you can go in so many different directions with that. But if you're looking at it from an individual leader perspective, I think a great leader is one that is holistic in their well-being, that they are touching upon all the different dimensions of wellness, which means they're looking at their physical, their emotional, spiritual, financial, social. All those components feed off one another and have an impact on one another. And so if they are not having strong wellness in one of those areas, it's going to impact the others. And so I think when you look at leadership and what does that entail, I think a good leader is one that is having a lot of strength in all those areas, and also looking at where are they weak and how can they address that, really being in tune with themselves. There's so many leaders that forego the physical well-being, especially sleep. And to me, sleep is the cornerstone, the most important thing of your physical well-being. It impacts everything you do. And so when I'm working with a lot of leaders, I will ask them, right in the beginning, like, how's your sleep? What's going on with you? And that tells me so much, because if they're saying, well, I don't really get sleep, or I have really disrupted sleep, then that means you're waking up with no energy. You're waking up with distress. And how can you lead a team when you're not, fully whole and fully rested?
Awesome. Thank you. We are going to unpack this really big question. That's why I started with it.
I know I'm over here taking
that's
notes.
Great. Thank you.
No, I mean, honestly, I don't know how much I have to add to that. I'm over here learning alongside. I mean, I'm coming at it more from the solopreneur standpoint, and I find tools like, honestly, the Enneagram has been really good for me to recognize times in my life where there's outages. And if I'm getting pretty far off balance on one way or the other, like I'll then kind of do that inventory and realize that, like, It might be a nutrition problem, it might be a fitness thing, it might be a social thing where there is an imbalance. And I'm actually give myself permission as a person to be out of balance at times, but like know when I'm going to be out of balance, know when I'm having seasons of, I know I'm going to be working pretty hard during this season. There's going to be a lot of my time is demanded on a certain project or a certain effort, and really try to just have an awareness of that and then counter it with additional rest or additional fitness or exercise or whatever. So, yeah.
Do you give people around you permission to also speak into that? Because as a solopreneur, we may think, I just got to make this last push, but somebody checks in and says, hey, I think you need to be really careful. I'm noticing this.
Yeah, no, my wife is she's a great, she can get a good temperature read on like how I'm doing. She can just kind of read the room really quickly. And she's lent me a lot of courage to take breaks, to like say no to projects, to slow down at times, and to be okay with that, and to just kind of go, like, even give me permission to go through some of the lows and like not freak out, and then also, at times even setting a time limit to say, hey, it's okay to be bummed out for the next, and I get to determine the time, 24 hours. And then after that, it's time to move on. So
yeah. I know I use the phrase 3 a.m. friends a lot. My 3 a.m. friends checking in and saying, hey, you don't act okay. You're not speaking. I can tell there's something going on that's causing stress, or physically, how's that going for you? Right. So, and I appreciate that I have close contacts, business associates and friends that are willing to say that, right, and bring it up, because it definitely is a nice little gut check. It's also encouraging when you're doing well and they can feel it. Like, I've shared in the last few years, we've all had a roller coaster that we've been on. And right now, fortunately, I feel like I'm on top of the hill. I know at some point it's going to drop back down, but that's just the way the entrepreneur journey is, the solopreneur journey is, or even leading teams feels like at times, right? So recognize it. And there's a phrase that I do an exercise around called at your best. At my best, here is how I feel, think, operate. Here are my daily habits. Here are my spiritual habits. Here are my physical, mental, social habits. Here's the amount of time I want to spend with friends. Here's the amount of time I want to spend with self. I want to do X amount of yoga or X amount of mobility, or I want to listen to music. I want to write. I want to draw. I want to read. And I always tell people whenever I do that exercise, people immediately, if I have a room of 30 people, will make excuses that I can never be at my best, because at my best, I'd want to do this. And I'm like, well, that means at your best, I do this, right? Human behavior, we naturally create our own excuses and like laugh it away or excuse it away, right? So, and I think you hit on so many of those elements. Where have you ever experienced, Jessica, of like a trend of like, I know when people are really hitting burnout and their resiliency scores going down, if I can pick up on this?
Oh gosh. You mean like self-awareness? What can they?
Yeah. Have you, because you've worked with thousands of leaders.
A lot of leaders.
And are there leading indicators? Are there things that we can be saying, I'm going to pay attention to this because this is what Jessica said in that episode, and I'm going to pay attention to this and this year?
There are a few things that come to mind. If it all depends also on the size of your team. Are you an entrepreneur with a small team? Are you running a very large team in a corporation? But one thing that I think is telling is what's the dynamic of the team and how well are they working together? Does the team feel supported? Do they feel like they have enough resources? Mm-hmm. Where's the engagement level? Because if there's disengagement and distrust, then that is a reflection on the leadership. So there's something amiss within the leader. And I found that the leaders that I feel are the best are the ones that are the most regulated, that they have a sense of self. They're doing self-care. They are modeling those behaviors. And that's a big thing that I see in really good, strong leaders, is that they model the behavior of take a break, don't eat lunch at your desk. Let's have a walking meeting. And what I love is, teaching leaders that one, simple question they can ask their team can change the entire dynamic. So let's say I'm your leader and I ask you just on a random day, how are you? What would you say?
I'm doing pretty well today.
Yeah. And I think that's most of the answers because you don't feel like you can really tell your leader how you really feel.
Sure.
I'm feeling financial stress. I'm going through a divorce. I'm not sleeping well. I'm going through menopause or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Versus, and you also don't want to show weakness to your leader. But how different would it be if that leader said, what's feeling heavy for you this week?
Mm-hmm.
And so if your leader opens up and says, what's feeling heavy? Now you've got that psychological safety to say, oh, well, this project, or this in my personal life, or this team member, or I need more resources, or the tech is not reliable. And then that leader can step in and know this is what you need to do your best work. But when you just say, how are you? That's not really, digging very deep.
Right.
And so when you give your team permission to say, this is what I need to do my best work, and you're asking me what's feeling heavy, in this moment in time, this is what's feeling heavy, and this is where I need your help. And that's when you have a really strong team, when you have that empathetic, authentic leader. And so I think we're kind of going back of like those leaders that have to recognize burnout. I think they can recognize it in their team before themselves, because if their team is burned out, there's no way there's a leader working at full capacity and their team is fully burned out. So something is amiss there.
Yeah.
And so I think when the leader can look at their team, see how everyone is functioning, are they taking rest days? Are they taking their vacations? Are they working a reasonable amount of hours? What is on their plate that they can truly handle? And then that leader can look at themselves and say, when I wake up in the morning, how do I feel? Where's my energy? Do I feel ready to hit the floor and, really go at it? Or am I just dragging today? And then where is my connection? Am I feeling really connected to my purpose, to my friends, or am I just really getting by? And then it is also reactivity. How is that person when they wake up and look at their day? Am I embracing what's going to happen and my emotions, or am I snapping? Am I avoiding? Am I short-tempered? And so when that leader can really look inside themselves and say, those three areas, how am I doing? That will give them a lot of insight. And then burnout shows out in so many different ways. Often it starts really small, and it's just those physical feelings of it's a tension headache, it's your shoulders are aching, you're having disrupted sleep, maybe you're having some GI issues, you're maybe avoiding some social interactions, and then that just begins to build, and they get more and more because we first blow it off. We're like, well, I've got a headache, I'm just tired, or I'm dehydrated, and we make these excuses. But actually that is stress just manifesting in so many different ways. And so it's easy to really ignore those. But when you can take a step back and look at, I'm having these signs and symptoms for months now, I think it's something more. And then as that builds, that's what actually leads to burnout.
Is your team working together or just working in silos? When collaboration breaks down, everything suffers. Talent Magnet Institute offers powerful training and team building facilitation on critical topics, such as breaking down silos, building trust, deeper cross-functional relationships, change management, and creating truly high-performing cultures. Our expert facilitators design interactive experiences that transform how your people work together. As a client recently shared, TMI provided exactly what we need: fresh ideas, engagement, and motivation. We walked away stronger, more aligned, and ready to tackle the year ahead with renewed confidence. From change management to intentional culture building, we'll help your team become more than the sum of its parts. Visit talentmagnet.com to discuss your team's needs today. One of the questions, JONBOB, I have for you is you have, when I think of you, before you and I met, it was like, man, there's this creative guy that comes up with all these amazing ideas and like puts them into implementation. So one of the things that inspires me is I know someone listening today is going to go, I've had this idea for 3 years or 30 years or 10 years, but I've never done anything about it. And here's a guy that's given me permission to go get after it, right? I would also argue, before I ask you the full question, is in those moments of times of ultimate creativity where you're like, you know what, I'm just going to try this. Whether you feel like you tripped into it or not, you were in some state of like, I have the freedom to do this and I'm going to go do it. And I'm not going to think twice and I'm not going to question myself and tell me all the reasons why in my mind that I shouldn't do it, right? Because that a lot of us live in that state. So what has it been? What's given you the freedom? What's opened up your mind to creating initiatives that bring people together?
Yeah, I mean, I think the foundational, like, you know, the foundation that's built off of just is margin, simply. Like I work hard to protect margin in my life, both financial and time and relational, you know, and just trying to do my best to reserve time to just dream and to think and to play, you know, which is surprisingly harder for me to do than it sounds. I think it's hard for most people. But it's, you know, as a problem solver in my regular business or my primary business as a photographer, like I end up finding so many solutions to problems that I'm trying to solve for that I just have to like get away. I have to get on my bike. I have to go for a walk. I have to just sort of remove myself from the center of it to like get the perspective and to get a fresh idea. And it's usually this convergence of, you know, another creative input with space and time that like gives you a completely different perspective, and then you can find a unique solution to whatever it is that you're kind of solving for. So margin is I think a critical thing that it's taken me a long time to realize, because I've gone through seasons where like, whoa, there is very little margin either in all of those different categories. And boy, it is like, does the stress and the pressure builds, the stress builds, the expectations seem to grow with it, and the solutions seem to diminish. So,
and you mentioned earlier the Enneagram. The thing that I struggle with assessments is that individuals may learn a little bit about themselves, but not ever care how it impacts them or others. So that is just my natural tendency is what you hear, where I feel like you've taken it of like, okay, Enneagram, here's who I am. And what does that mean? And how do I identify that? Because my guess is you haven't always given yourself margin. You've probably had to learn some of that, would be my guess.
Yeah, I think there's probably been a part of my design is like, you know, that's maybe been close to like how I'm built just to protect that. But yeah, it's definitely been a process of discovery over the years to realize that like, oh, if I were to plot out like the journey of my life and career and adventure, you know, and of this solopreneur things that I'm doing, like, you know, there's margin at all the high points and opportunity exists like along with it. So
now give us a couple of examples. So let's talk about Dad's Skate Squad.
Skate Squad. Gosh, that's actually the perfect layout for margin. I mean, the Dad's Skate Squad was a little project that we created during COVID. 2020 came. Everybody's plans got canceled. We all had way more. Actually, half of us had no time. They had way less. And then the rest of us, turned out I was unessential or whatever. Which wasn't great for the ego, but it was great for the calendar. And, you know, a friend of mine, we were going to go to the store. It was Memorial Day weekend. We found one family that we were kind of hanging out with and decided, hey, let's like cruise up to the gas station and grab some drinks or whatever. He wanted a Red Bull or something. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. I'm going to grab my skateboard. And he's like, I'm going to grab mine too. I didn't even know he skated. He didn't know I skated. We left the house. We didn't even go to the gas station. We took a right instead of a left and cruised through all these streets and just had so much fun. Extended the detour, picked up my brother-in-law and stopped at another. We just had 4 dudes that like all of a sudden were ready to ride. We're like, this is great. Like, let's do this again next Tuesday. Yeah. And for me, the other thing along with margin is if I can name something, it's like, oh, like then it's a thing. So
brand it.
We branded it. So Dad's Skate Squad, and it just like rolled right off the tongue. And it didn't take but 2 or 3 weeks before we were cruising through the city with like 40 dads just like skateboarding through town.
That's awesome.
Which was so perfect because, like, at the time we were all concerned about space and, being outdoors. And it was an activity that, like, there was nobody on the streets. Everybody's all these dads who were normally going to soccer practice or baseball, like, that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And so,
They probably
weren't
weren't moving a whole lot unless they
totally,
let's get out and get in the fresh air.
So it was fun.
Didn't you find though that in COVID, people were just craving a sense of community?
Absolutely.
Just in some way, shape, or form, because they didn't have essentially a work identity. They were forced to be remote. Many were in their houses and scared to leave. And a lot of their social things had to go by the wayside because of not being indoors and COVID. But I just felt that people are just craving some kind of sense of community, and you just created it yourself.
We did.
I love it.
We did. It was it was evident that, like, everybody was so desperate for that. And it's such a, some of the best solutions are the simplest. And it was just so simple. And it gave, all these dads like an opportunity to be a teenager again, It's like, it was just super fun. So, yeah.
Jessica, what about your life experiences had you really lean into this calling around wellness?
My entire life has been in health and wellness. From the get-go, just being in sports as a child, being a college athlete, then discovering in college, being an athletic trainer. So then I was always around athletes and helping them get healthy and well, which I taught, back in the day, aerobics. So there was that, and just my whole. And then I became a vegetarian at the age of 13. And as I say, vegetarian, because I was an athlete. Then back then, the doctors didn't really know a whole lot about how do you cut out meat and still be an athlete. So I had to still do chicken and fish. So they said, cut out all the red meat. That's fine. And then I progressively cut out that. And so now I'm still a pescatarian. So I still eat fish. So that, has been just kind of my entire world. And so then also at the same time as I became an athletic trainer, I also became a personal trainer and had, lots of clients doing that, as well as about 10 years ago, I became also a certified health coach as well. So just bridging all of that together with all the different roles that I've had, it's always centered around health and wellness.
That's awesome. And what correlations have you found to executives and leaders and athletes?
Oh, that's a great question. I think looking at them as that they're all at the top of their game. They're all high performers. They all have distinct routines, and they're very regimented in what they do. And they are also very, very disciplined. I think the best executives, best leaders, and the best athletes are highly disciplined. And with that, I see a lot of executives that I've worked with, a lot of high-level leaders that also don't put themselves as a priority, unfortunately. They're so focused on excelling in what they do, pushing the business forward, looking for growth personally and professionally, that they're just putting their own health and well-being on the back burner. And they just keep thinking, I'll get to it. I'm just going to sacrifice that because I have to do good at my job. Now, of course, athletes can't do that. That's a different animal.
Right.
But what I really try to emphasize when I'm working with leaders and individuals of all levels is that you've got to make yourself a priority. Your wellness is all you have, and if you don't make sure you're sleeping well, you're eating right, you're getting in movement on a regular basis, it's all going to suffer. And then you add on having stress in your life, and it just compounds everything else and just seeps into all of those habits that can just be derailed so easily.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a direct correlation between high-performing leaders, holistic high-performing leaders, because there are many people who think they're doing great work, but anyone who's close to them would go, in spite of yourself, right? But there's such a, like, every athlete has a coach. Every leader should have a coach. Every athlete has routines and discipline. Every leader should have. And I still personally am trying to figure that out. Like I realize so goes the leader, can go the team. And we've got to put, everyone's looking to the example. So you hear that a lot about, you referenced earlier about a leader's schedule and are they taking vacations? Do they take time off? Because if they don't, no one around them is going to naturally do that either. So the skills that we need to be a high performing leader is not just show up to work every day and perform, right? There's a lot of other things that have to do that come in that area, and we're to model behavior, right? And I'm saying it, and I don't do it perfect for sure, right? I've had just in the last 18 months, I was like, man, things were going really well. And then I was down low on the roller coaster and just got hit with some emotional things that I had a hard time getting back up. In fact, one of those times, my buddy JONBOB called me and said, hey, Mike, the Relentless 2800, this year will be my third year participating.
Yes, it will.
Year 2, last year, I was and I kept saying, like, I'm just not, I was going to lead a team. I told JONBOB, I'm going to lead a team. And then when it came time, I was like, I can't lead a team. Do you have a spot for little old me? Could I join? And he was like, you should join my team. Yeah. Right.
Well, the first question was, do you have a Peloton?
Yes.
Then it was join my team. And we finished across that finish line together.
Yeah. So he sent me a text and said, do you want to finish out the challenge? I think you and I could do it for our team with the cycling miles.
Yeah.
And then we hopped on a speakerphone call
That's
and we
right.
rode our Pelotons across the finish line.
That's right.
Yes.
No, it was great, man. Glad to have you on the team. Yeah.
But that's what community is, and that's what friends are. Like there were friends that knew, because you and I were also at the time an executive roundtable together.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And like I believe that you could pick up on where I was, and we're also just checking in. That's also the person you are. You check in with your buddies. I encourage all of us to check in with our friends that you know may need us to check in. That's leadership. Like I'm amazed the lives that I've been told by others that you've had a profound impact on me because you reached out to me in a time that nobody else did. And not because no one else wanted to, it's because no one else felt they could or were willing to take that next step. So thank you both for doing that over time. And that's leadership, right? And I think we all need to show up different. It comes exactly back to the question you asked me earlier. And then you said, what if I would have asked you this? That's leadership. Asking that right question to show you that, I'm really here for you. And I want you to be at your best if you're on my team. And I always tell people, you don't have to tell me anything as a leader, right? Because, people mixing work and personal and all that. But if you do, there's no doubt I'm going to be able to help you even more effectively. But it's your choice. Like, it's your choice what you say and what you share. But if I can lean in with you on life circumstances, like we have a whole team of people who can do that. We all experience stuff, right?
Yeah, I always recommend to leaders to do 2 things. One is to have truly intentional one-on-ones that are, on the calendar, that they have just that time with that team member, that employee, and really asking them, how are you doing? And what can I do to help you do your best work? What do you really need from me? And, whatever that answer is, delivering, giving them what they need to, get their work done. But then being vulnerable enough to turn the table and then say, now how can I improve? How can I be a better leader? What am I missing? What's my blind spot? And giving that employee permission to say, this is what you could do better. This is where I see an area you could improve, all out of, kindness and curiosity, of course,
Sure.
But when you have that true open door policy and you can have that relationship, your team is going to thrive as a result of it, because you're letting your team know, you can tell me what I'm doing wrong and I'm going to listen and try my best to change and be the best leader I can be for you. But so often leaders don't do that. They don't take that approach. And I feel everything suffers because of it. But when you can build that true authentic relationship, and then your team feels that. Another thing I recommend to teams, it's very easy to do. It's very rarely done normally. So, we all have these meetings, whether it's on Teams or Zoom or in person, but a small thing that can do that is so impactful to elevate the entire team is at the beginning of every single meeting, no matter what it is, the senior leader of that meeting begins with a check-in. And like I always call like a pulse. And that can be a color, red, yellow, green. It can be a number 1 through 10. But they start out of however they feel that day. And whatever that makes sense. It's their capacity, it's their energy, it's their attitude, whatever it might be. And they give that color, that number. So when that senior leader can give something that's not a green and not a 9 or a 10, and there's no explanation. You never explain why you're giving that number, that color. You just put it out there. That gives everybody automatically permission to go, I'm a 4, or I'm a 7. And then you can step back and the entire team can see where everybody is in that moment. And you don't know why they're in there in that moment. But now if you have a really good coworker and they were a 4, you can privately say, and I noticed you're a 4. What can I do to help you? Something off your plate? Something you're going through? Do you want to go get coffee? What do you need out of me? But that leader can then go back privately to those individuals and say, you said that you were a 5. Anything that I can do to improve your day or make your workload better, or do you just want to talk? And at least gives that permission. They may say, no, I don't, because it's not something you want to share. But by letting the senior leader at first be vulnerable, it allows everybody else to have that and have that psychological safety and just feel it's a safe workspace. And at the same time, it makes everybody feel seen, heard, and valued, which is what we all want in the end of the day.
Yeah. That connection, the connection piece. Question for you. The Simple Portrait Project has had how many sessions?
Thousands. I don't know. Yeah.
And I feel
we
like
do about 700 a year. Yeah.
And share a little bit about the background, because I know connection is a really big part of that whole vision. And I think that
is it. Can I ask Jessica a question real quick?
Yeah.
There's something I was hoping she could unpack just a little bit. You were talking a little bit about, and I'm sorry.
No.
I don't want to hijack.
No, please do. Go ahead.
You shared a little bit about your story being an athlete. And then you asked the question about like executive leadership and that sort of thing. Have you seen a shift? Because, growing up when I was younger, I felt like there was a clear distinction. Like, these are the athletes. These are these are like it's really like the Breakfast Club, right? You have like the athlete, the rock and roll kid. You have the
marching band
kids. You have the band kid. But have you noticed any sort of a shift in the idea of an athlete and the sense that it might be more of a belief than a belief in an identity than like an attribute of an identity or an outcome of a activity?
So are you talking about people that are non-athletes or an actual athlete in a sport?
Well, I guess I feel like I have seen, like I was doing CrossFit for a lot of years and they just referred to all of us as athletes. And I just feel like the least athletic person in the room in most cases. And I've never really operated under that identity of being an athlete. But I feel like it just kind of keeps coming up that like we're being told that we're athletes. And
right.
I actually think it's really good. It's like a really good belief to press into. I'm just it's more of just a wondering, like it's been when I see a word kind of continue to surface in different sort of contexts as a way to like lift people up, being an athlete seems to be one of them. And you kind of having a background being a collegiate athlete and then also transition to the workspace. Just, I don't know.
I think it can be a mindset. If you take it out of the context of you're not a collegiate athlete and you're not an Olympic athlete or playing a professional sport, then I think we all have the ability to have an athletic mindset of what does that mean. And I think if you take on that you're protecting your boundaries, you're getting up, having regulated sleep, getting up the same time every day with discipline, going to bed the same time every night, having sleep hygiene, which I love talking about sleep hygiene. But you're eating high quality food. You're getting an adequate protein. You're focusing on Mediterranean diet or lots of fruits and vegetables, and you're getting in intentional movement. But if you can look at your body as if it is through an athlete's mind or lens, so to speak, then I think anyone can be an athlete. Whether you are performing for a sport or not, you can have the mindset of being an athlete. There actually are those that work in factories and manufacturing. They're called industrial athletes. And that's a lot of being an athletic trainer that our profession works with. And we call them industrial athletes because they are doing repetitive motion. They're physical every single day. They're not lifting weights. They're not performing a sport, but they are true athletes in what they do. And so we got to work on ergonomics and overuse injuries and all the things that come around with doing anything that is a repetitive motion, being in construction, being in manufacturing. Those are all athletes from the athletic trainer perspective because we're still taking care of the injuries that they incur. But I think even if you are a weekend pickleballer, that you're still an athlete, or if you just are someone that goes out and walks every day, or goes out for a jog, or does the Relentless, then I bet I think anyone has the ability to be an athlete and have the that athlete mindset.
And you also, there are books on corporate athletes and what that means, and it is the regimen, the habits, the discipline, the putting work into motion. And we also obviously all need to move more.
Sure.
Right? In any way possible and what we can do, even if it's on the Peloton incline at 15% at 9:30 at night, because I got to get my heart rate up, which is what I did last night. So, most leadership training focuses on topics versus skills, experiences, and a common language to move a team and organization forward. The best leaders that are honed into their people know this and want to take a different approach to building learning journeys that help their people get to the desired outcomes. Our Unconventional Leadership Program is customized for you, whether it's working with your executive team, your senior leaders, your managers and directors, or all of your employees. We have a design for you. Each program is built around your culture and your specific needs and bottlenecks, backed by decades of expertise and designed to create measurable impact today. Let's develop leaders at every level of your organization. Visit talentmagnet.com to schedule a conversation. So connection. We're going to come back to connection.
Let's do it.
It's such a big part of all of this, right? The connection that we build with relationships, the connection even that we have with ourselves, of like being honest with ourselves and saying, I'm not okay, or here's where I am, or I'm doing really well. Why is that? How, again, back to at my best, how am I? But you have a calling for connection. A lot of the things that you've done in your life have been like, I don't know, let's put some great people together, or let's help people find connection again as a family. And can you give us a little bit of that origin story of Simple Portrait Project?
Sure, yeah. Well, the heart behind the Portrait Project is, it's interesting because it has changed over time. And I think it initially started out of a pretty selfish standpoint. And over the years, I feel like it's actually grown in generosity as it has grown and as I have grown. I mean, initially set out to see if I could, take advantage of the studio that I happened to be in, and was getting phone calls to do family portraits, was happened to be the one thing that I did not want to do. But I'm like, there's like a bunch of people calling. I could turn this into like more of a commercial type shoot and really make it around limitation and just make it highly creative, very process oriented. And I was like, oh, that was actually pretty fun. We did 35 sessions that first weekend. It was super stripped down. You got one image, you came for 15 minutes. I shot, edited, and delivered all of it. It was like, oh, maybe we've got something here. And we named it again. That kind of goes back to the theme of naming things. It just the Simple Portrait Project. I didn't think twice about it. And I've been doing it now for we just did our 18th year. And we did about 700 sessions, and have since invited all these photographers to join us. We have a huge team of editors. It takes about 40-ish people to pull it off every November. It goes for 4 weeks. And it's probably, as far as I know, like the largest family portrait event of its kind. And it's taken a long time to get there, but it's been really fun. So, but like the heart behind it is really like, I believe, as I've done it for many, many years, is that families just need a reminder of like who they belong to and who they are. Even if like the way we capture who you are, it's we always say we have a bias for good. We have a bias that your family is good and worth fighting for. And so if we can give you in a moment a thing to like build an image of the best version of yourselves that you guys as a that you as a family can hold on to for the next year to fight another day, to like, because family's hard. You hit highs and you hit lows. There's challenges. There's sickness. There's all kinds of things that can really challenge like what it is that you believe and what it is that you see in one another and that sort of thing. So like so I'm like, I want to be about this thing I said I never wanted to do. Actually, I'm so happy to be about it, especially for that, just that portion of the year. It's like being an advocate for family and providing a tool to help people stay together ultimately. So
that's awesome. And have you taken that same type of project that you do in the greater Cincinnati market into other markets?
We've kind of dabbled with it. I have personally been frustrated with all of my attempts to do it and have kind of resolved to like, maybe this could just be a Cincinnati thing. Like maybe this could just be special to us and let's make it as awesome as we can here. And we'll continue to grow it incrementally over the years. But like, I'm more interested in figuring out what else we can do. Part of it is I'm like a perpetual starter. Like I love starting things. And so every November I get to kind of restart the business. And so I've discovered about myself that I'm not a manager. And so growing it outwardly actually puts me more in that managing role. So at this point, it's going to be a Cincinnati thing, at least for the duration. So yeah.
It's awesome.
And I'm all right with
that. And then if anybody wants to learn about it, they can just go on to Google and type Simple Portrait Project and register and be ready to get an email when it opens up.
When it opens up, we own. It's a very limited run. We run for. We're probably gonna do 5 weeks again this year. In spaces, we sell out basically everything that we offer. So if that's something you're interested in, we have. We're not very active on the social and on the website throughout most of the year, but you can certainly send an inquiry through there, and you'll end up on the list, and you'll know when we're taking orders.
Awesome. So I'm going to continue to tie things together in storylines here and I'll move up to the mic. Thank you, Josh. I just leaned way back.
Your piece or something?
No, but I know he was thinking, please lean forward. Yeah. When we talk about habit forming, have there been certain habits as individual, like leading self-leadership and team or even family leadership that you have found that you need in place in your life? These are habits that when they're off kilter, I'm off kilter. Do you have any of those?
For me, it's sleep. I mean, if my sleep is not 8 hours a night, or it's 8 hours, but it's completely disrupted, it just ruins me for the next day. So I know that is kind of what I do to protect myself, is to protect my sleep as much as I possibly can. And that goes into the sleep hygiene, keeping that routine for me. And that's what I start out with. Almost all of my health coaching clients, I start them out with sleep. Let's look at your sleep first before we tackle anything else. But I want to lose 10 pounds. Nope. Let's look at sleep first, because if you are not getting adequate sleep, your body will not let you lose weight. So let's circle back to sleep and see how it is. And I was a panelist at a menopause seminar. So there was 100 women, and they did a rotating of tables around all of us. And they got to my table, and of course I'm talking about sleep. And so I just asked each of them, who here sleeps really well? And out of 100 women, I think 5 had said, wow, I sleep pretty good. All the rest are like, it's horrific. My sleep is awful. And a lot of these women, and there's a point to this, a lot of these women are in high-level corporate positions, and they're leading teams. And they're leading teams in complete exhaustion. They're not sleeping well. They're having hot flashes at night. They're also, what also comes into play is that when they're in these high-profile leadership roles, or they're running meetings and they're going through menopause, they also have a bit of imposter syndrome, because they also worry that when I'm in front of these people and I'm and I'm talking to them or I'm doing a presentation, what if I have a hot flash? What if I have brain fog in the middle of my presentation and I have no idea how to recover, which is a symptom of menopause. All of us have it. All the women that go into menopause experience those things. And, brain fog is a huge thing as well. But, and that's something I think a lot of male leaders don't realize, or those male members of a team that have a female leader that is over the age of 35, that is going in, perimenopause, premenopause, postmenopause, that they can be having a wide range of signs and symptoms. And it does impact the team as well. But it all kind of comes back to the sleep also, and that it impacts so many people that I work with, male and female. And that's what I really try to make as the cornerstone of let's work on that first so that everything else can kind of fall into place as a result.
How do we work on our sleep hygiene? Like, what are the things we need to unpack? Because I don't know about JONBOB, but I've been working on increasing my sleep. Now, my wife questions my Garmin. She does say, like, I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but I try really hard. I'll wear like a sleep mask. I got a sound machine. I try to like not drink water too close to when I go to bed, all these things, but I wake up and I don't sleep too well.
Yeah.
Right? So what do I need to work on?
Well, there's a lot. I'll try to kind of give all the tips here. But sleep hygiene just is a routine that you're going to have 7 days a week, as much as you can possibly stick to it. And I always start this out by saying, those of you that have raised children or maybe you babysat, when they are small, what do we do with every small child? We give them a warm bath, put them in warm, cuddly clothes, rock them to sleep, read them a book, sing them a song every single night. And that signals their little bodies that it's time for rest. We darken the room, turn the lights down, the house gets quiet, and that signals them to go to sleep. We are no different. We need the warm bath, the cozy pajamas, a little rocking in the rocking chair. Okay. That's what we need. So we've got to find out what is that routine that's going to signal our bodies, help release melatonin, but signal those bodies that it's time for rest. So 30 to 60 minutes before your ideal time that you want to be asleep is when you start. And that means that you cut out all exposure to blue light, which means no TV, no cell phones, which is a tough thing. It's also the first thing we talk, in the morning we grab for our phones. For the first thing we do is grab those phones. But at night you want to not be engaged with those devices. You can listen to podcasts, you can listen to music, you can listen to the soundscapes and meditations, but you're just not going to be looking at your phone. So you can incorporate it in different ways. Ideally not having a television in the bedroom, unless you watch it when you're getting ready in the morning, but you don't want to have it for bedtime. And then it's whatever you're going to be doing to prep that body. So having some chamomile or lavender tea, or some warm milk, ideally stopping caffeine. Typically 6 hours before bedtime is when you want to stop the caffeine. Doing something you enjoy. That can be doing a puzzle, journaling, reading a book, spending time with your partner or your children, but doing something that is relaxing and is going to let you unwind before you head into bed. And then when you get into bed, ideally your room temperature is 65, 66 degrees. You want it nice and cool and dark so the body can rest and recover. And then, when you get into bed, if you find that you have a lot of thoughts, that's where you just put them all out on paper, get them all off, dump your brain full of the thoughts, and then ideally go to sleep. Now, if in the midst of that you wake up, your mind is racing, that's when you want to, grab that notebook and write down things. And I tell people that it doesn't really matter what you write. It's not legible. You're just getting it off your brain so that your brain can rest. If it's something like you really want to remember, like it's an idea of a new company you're going to start, then you might want to turn the light on a little bit, and have a nightlight and write that down. But if after 20 minutes you can't sleep, you want to get up out of bed, go to a different room, do a relaxing activity. Again, stretch, meditate, read a book, something that's going to get you back to sleep. Because when you're in bed, you only want your body to correlate the bed with sleep and sex and nothing else. So that when it gets into bed, it knows one of those things is going to happen. It's the restful time. You don't want it to be correlating it with just sitting there or watching television or anything else. So that's when we lay the babies in the crib. they're going to sleep. That's where they go to sleep.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, if after 20 minutes you're not having success, you go back to bed. But when you can start putting all those things into place, that you do things that your body and you look forward to, then it makes that sleep come a lot more easily. Now it's going to take a couple of weeks to get that routine, 3 weeks to make a habit.
Yeah.
But when you can get those things into place, you will find that you have much more deeper, restful, successful sleep. You can do things like there's a valerian root that they can have in herbal tea that helps induce sleep. There's things like melatonin, although that shouldn't be used long term. You can do something like a Benadryl or the the Tylenol PM if you really need some catalyst and help. One thing you also want
but not long term.
I think, from my understanding, definitely talk to your primary care, but I think those are things that I've heard that they say is fine to take long term. But again, check with your primary care. I'm not a physician. And then also stopping alcohol a couple hours before you go to bed. A lot of people think that alcohol helps you sleep and falls asleep as a depressant, but it disrupts your entire REM cycle.
Yeah.
So you can never get deep sleep, even though you might fall asleep quickly. You're not going to get that deep sleep. It disrupts the whole cycle. For some people, they can't exercise anywhere close to bedtime. So they want to do vigorous or moderate exercise hours and hours before they ever go to bed. But for some people, doing light yoga or a little bit of walking is fine and doesn't affect their sleep, but only you know what your body, how's affected with exercise.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I just learned a lot. Did
Me
you learn
too,
a lot?
yeah. I'm
There's some
ready to go
things
to
I need
sleep
to work
now.
on. And what did you say you can put, what kind of root in your tea?
Valerian. So when you
Valerian
look
root.
at all the different teas on the shelf or at a tea shop, most of them always have like a chamomile or a lavender in there, but there's some that have a valerian root. And for me, it does the sheer opposite. It wires me, but it's meant to put you to sleep. It doesn't have that effect on me. So always try it out on an evening, maybe on a Saturday or a Friday or Saturday. And if you don't sleep well, it's not going to impact your workday. Lesson learned. But yeah, looking for those two ingredients, that's some herbs that will help with sleep.
And you encourage people to start there. They need to get this right before the body will do other miracle things that it's supposed to be doing.
When you can get good, adequate, deep, restful sleep and your body gets to go through the REM cycle, you wake up rested, you wake up full of energy, you're able to better handle whatever stressors come with the day. You tend to make healthier choices. You eat better because you're feeling energetic. So you're prone to make really healthy choices and you want to have a great breakfast or a really good lunch. Because you slept so well, you have the energy to actually exercise and do some movement. Versus the sheer opposite. If you've had disrupted sleep, poor sleep, you wake up and you're dragging. You don't want to do anything. You're going to make the easy choices for food, the fast food, the vending machine, the things that are just easy on the go, the processed foods, because they're easy and they take no energy. They don't, have to have that capacity to think about what am I going to plan, to eat for lunch or dinner.
Yeah.
And then it also impacts how you relate to everybody that's around you. I think we've all been tired and we're grumpy and we're irritable and we're short-tempered and we can't focus on our work. We can't get things done. We're not as efficient in what we're doing that day and we're just dragging. So that's why, sleep affects everything that we do, how we interact.
Awesome. JONBOB, any key habits that you see yourself at your best or things that you notice when I'm out of rhythm? I can tell, I've stopped doing that. I need to get back in rhythm.
Man, the irony is that I'm probably one of the least disciplined. I feel like I'm a pinball in a machine just all over the place with discipline. So,
but you give yourself margin.
I
so
do,
at times if you're not
there.
giving yourself margin, you go, gosh, I'm sure you can feel the tension when that doesn't exist.
No, that's, well, I can actually feel the tension when I'm too much of a pinball, not avoiding some of the more disciplinary things. But I will say just, as a family, for me feeling centered and fulfilled in a sense of purpose, and I have older kids now, they're all in college. Any chance that we can all just gather around a table is really, that used to be a big routine that we had that's taking a lot more effort to keep going,
Yeah,
you know, but,
I'm sure.
but that's a big one for sure.
Mm.
And I don't know. I love hearing the challenge of like having that nighttime routine of like slowing down, being intentional. That's pretty attractive little approach there.
And I'll also circle it back to those that are business owners. You know, I feel they have the weight of the business on their shoulders, and they just feel compelled to work all the time. Whether they have one or two businesses, they get home from a long day, they have their family or personal obligations, and then, 9 times out of 10, what are they doing? They're checking their phone, they're checking their email, they're wrapping it up. I can just get one more thing off my to-do list for the next day, versus giving themselves that rest and recovery. And that's what I try to emphasize if I'm working with business owners, is that you've got to give yourself rest and recovery, just like an athlete builds in rest. There are rest periods.
There are rest days and
there are rest days.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
And it's so important that, and those that are business owners need to incorporate rest as well, and to protect themselves. It's going to elevate their business and their performance as a result. So giving yourself, 3 to 4 evenings a week that you're not working, that, that whatever that hour after dinner is, you're done. Your workday is done. Unless there's something on fire, just give yourself those 3 hours to spend it with yourself, your partner, or whoever you want to spend that time with, your pet, whatever it might be. And that just protects yourself, protects your boundaries, and just makes you a stronger business owner, I feel.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Relentless 2800.
Yes.
Share a little bit more about where that came from.
Sure.
Was it in the middle of the night when you were like, I have this great idea? Because I definitely have that.
Yeah, no, the Relentless actually started, it was the origin of the idea came from my business partner in it, David Valentine, who was supposed to be solving a different problem, but started doing some math to determine over the course of Lent, how many guys would it take to travel from New York to LA, which is 2,800 miles. And, it's about what he was doing it for 40 days, and which turns out is not accurate Lent math. Found that out afterwards. But we determined if 10 people did 7 miles a day, they could, as a team, as like a relay, cross the entire country. And we're like, let's try it. And I'm like, let's call it Relentless. Back to the naming thing. Yeah. And it was a kind of a natural, perfect fit. So yeah, that has been, it's something we kick off actually it turns out that Lent starts at a different time of the year every year, but always on a Tuesday at midnight or Wednesday morning. The Relentless 2800 Challenge is a team-based challenge that functions like a relay where you collect what we call relentless miles. Those miles are given by doing activities such as running, walking, cycling, and working out. And we kind of rate those differently based on the activity. So, and one of the things that I love about the Relentless 2800 is, for a lot of people, it sounds like that is an impossible ask. 7 miles a day. Are you crazy? Well, the fact is, we actually give you kilometers for running. So if you run, if you do a 3 mile run, it's actually 5 relentless miles, roughly. Cycling is a 1-to-1, and then gym time is basically an hour's worth of activity, gives you your daily requirement. So if you're doing a yoga class, or you're going to, an Orange Theory or something of that nature, or going to the YMCA for an hour, that actually qualifies. So it really encourages people to do something just about every day, and as a team. And now there's some days where you might go on a 25-mile bike ride, because it's actually, if you're on the bike path or something like that, that's not, it sounds like a lot, but on a Saturday, that's not the hardest thing to pull off. So you could buy a little extra time there. So, but what ends up happening is, if you decide you're going to skip a day, then skip another day, then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, to stay on track, this actually is a relentless. You really have to stay after it. And the other thing that I love about it, and all the things that I've been about, is there's just such a power in invitation. And with the Relentless 100 Challenge, because we don't judge your results based on how fast you accomplished that mile on the bike or on the walk, it's just that you did it. It allows you to invite your friend who runs marathons or is, is just a sprinter, likes to move fast, or, like the person who walks with their like walking group every morning, like that actually works. So it's like, it allows you to have your super athletic friends and maybe, you're a grandparent to be involved. We had a guy who was 83 years old, do it. And this year he's actually signed up his entire spin class at the YMCA. He's now 84 doing it. So if he can do it, and then his granddaughter also did it as well. And her parents was like, we said we couldn't persuade her to get excited about any fitness thing. And yet she's coming home and getting on the bike after theater practice just to get her daily miles. So it's like, it spans this, like it gives an opportunity for this like generational thing that you can do with a diverse group of people all over the country together. So it's awesome. And it starts in a few weeks. And
you formulate teams. Can you join and be placed on a team, or do you have to bring a team with you?
Yeah. So the ideal way to do it is you start your own team if you don't know anybody who's doing it, and invite a few people in. You'd be surprised how quickly 1 or 2 yeses can turn into a team of, actually, honestly, because you almost start turning people away because
the power of invitation.
Yeah. I invite you and you're like, yeah, I think I'll do it, but I'd actually want to do it with this guy I work with, and his sister is like training for a marathon. So I'll probably invite her. Then, okay, you're almost halfway there, so, but we're working and we'll hope to, if you check on the site, there should be a way to be placed in a team.
Okay.
By the time this gets aired. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And power of invitation, it builds community. You bring a community, whether you bring it with you or you get placed on a team and you meet people. The first year I participated was on an Excel spreadsheet. Now it's an app that you download from the App Store.
Yeah.
It's so much better than the Excel spreadsheet, which I'm sure the Excel spreadsheet still somehow, like, I feel like it's all X's and O's, right? So the development. But I didn't know anyone the first year I did it. And I was maybe one person on the team. And I was on a team. I didn't know anyone. And I got to know them, right? I follow them on Strava now. And I follow them on the Peloton app. And maybe a couple friends on Facebook. Because it was like, wow, you live in Fort Thomas. I'm in Villa Hills. And you love to ride your Peloton. And so do I. So now so it's that extra sense of like, it's helpful to have people on these platforms that where you don't feel like it's just me and I'm being judged. Like, no, you're not. Just go do. Go do and join and contribute. It does keep a little percentage of your contribution with your team where you are, which to me is motivating. Like, all right, I'm going to contribute a little more. I don't want to be in the not teens or double digits. I want to be a double-digit contributor to anything I do. So I'm going to do this. Which is also really helpful.
What's such a formula for success, because if you took all those people just as individuals, they would probably lose their motivation, much like New Year's resolutions,
Sure.
But when you're part of a team and that team is depending on you, whatever you're going to contribute, it's that motivation, it's the accountability. It's having those people that I don't want to let them down. I'm just going to have to push myself and get in those miles. I think it's a perfect formula. Yeah. And it's, again, also that sense of community.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been one of the things that we were really surprised how contagious it was you get a prompt anytime somebody on your team puts any effort into the app. And boy, has that been, at least for me, like, man, it's 9:00, Mike, and I know we're supposed to be doing our bedtime routine, but Mike just got off the treadmill and passed 3 miles. I forgot to do something today. I better get going, know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, it really, I don't think we necessarily set out to do this. Maybe it's a little bit accidental, but it's like harnessing the power of team, the power of invitation with just a little twist of competition that like is enough to stay motivated and to push you a little bit farther, because, it's funny that I'm like the person behind this, because I feel the least qualified to both develop an app and to do an app that has to do with fitness. Cause it's like a thing that I've just really struggled to be disciplined and consistent with over time. But like, it's so much fun, and it's so fun watching people grow, people get pushed, people associate a different goal with it. It might be to run a marathon or to or to even just run 5Ks at a certain pace. And it's like, well, they're using this as like a leapfrog tool to get to that goal as well. And that's been, man, it's been like just really rewarding, and it's fun to watch it grow. And we also put little kind of fun little activities in there too. So like little example would be last year we made roller skating a way to get some free miles. And it was just because I wanted to see how many people we could get to go roller skating. And like a couple hundred people went roller skating. I'm like, this is amazing. That's awesome.
Did you have any companies that do it, like that adopt it and do it with their employees?
Yes, we have a few. We have it is available to roll out to different like we've had people buy 3 or 4 teams and sort of put them together internally. And it's we've had some success with that. We're hoping to push that a little harder in the years to come and other versions that we're doing of the app. But yeah, it's a great team building thing, because the thing that we've also found is that it's really nice to it's a really powerful thing to give employees something to talk about that's not just work, and something to work for that's bigger than, sales goals and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then, they also find they have things in common, and they get to do it together. We also incentivize, can't give away all the secrets, but we incentivize working out together, doing something together.
Yeah.
Even if it's like, hey, I'm on a remote team and the person I'm on this project with lives in, 3 states away. Like, we can jump on a Zoom call. And we had one team, they all got on to collect, because we'll do a thing where we've done a thing in the past where you could get their miles and your miles. So they're all on Zoom, on a treadmill or on a bike, doing their stuff together. So yeah, it's a great tool for executive teams or for just any sort of team.
What's it cost?
The cost is $40 there's a couple different tiers. We've incentivized leadership by reducing that by 50%. So that's a $20 ticket. It's kind of treated as an event, like you would get to, run a marathon or to do a triathlon or something. So an individual ticket is $49, but it is there's all kinds of coupons. In fact, we'll give you one for anybody listening to the podcast.
Okay.
And then you can also buy a whole team, which is up to 12 people, and that's $370. So, which ends up being close to like $30 a person if you max out the team. So,
what a great gift that companies could give their employees for those that want to participate.
Yes.
You're always looking at do they want swag? Maybe they just want to be on a Relentless team.
Yeah,
and that's their choice.
I love there is competition to it. We all, I think all of us have some innate athletic mindset.
Yeah.
But you and your team are together. So you're not competing with your team.
Yep.
There's other teams that you're also learning from. I mean, it's really inspiring to go, how in the world did they post that? And you can see, and you're like, wow, that's really encouraging. So that connectivity, that camaraderie, that energy this is a really good tool to bring that to organizations.
Yeah.
So thank you for once again bringing another tool out to the world that has a fabulous name. I loved even how you use the adjective of, it's relentless and it's relentless.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Good.
So as we wrap up, I want to ask each one of you, what is unconventional leadership to you? So JONBOB, I'm going to start with you. What is an unconventional leader? I could feel it, so I directed it to you.
Okay. Yeah. I think unconventional leadership is, for me, getting comfortable with not seeking permission to pursue any ideas that you're trying to, actualize.
Wow.
I think too often people are waiting for somebody else to tell them that they should go for it. And maybe the unconventional route is to go for it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Excellent. Jessica?
I think unconventional leadership is leading holistically and from a human-centric perspective, where the leader is looking at everyone they work with as a whole person and not just the individual contributor and what their task or their role is, but how are they as a human? What do they need to do their best work? What are their interests outside of the workplace? Do you really know who you work with? And I think it's those leaders that or unconventional leaders that can be really vulnerable, that can be very authentic and transparent, that are going to lead the greatest, most thriving teams.
Excellent. Well, thank you both. Thank you for joining me today in this conversation. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you accepting the invitation and trusting that we were going to have an outstanding dialogue.
Yeah.
And I want to thank all of you for joining us for this week's episode of the Unconventional Leadership Podcast. I want to encourage you to provide comments, thoughts to the platform that you're on. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.